Our next speaker is not a stranger to Apprenticeships for England conferences. He's spoken to us on a number of occasions, so I'd like to welcome Graham Hasting-Evans, who's the Group MD of NOCN. Graham.
Good morning, everybody. Some of you will know that I actually went through an apprenticeship myself many years ago, as you can tell. And from that apprenticeship took me to work all over the world, in Asia, in Africa, in the Middle East. And I suppose I learnt then that we are all equal, and there's a lot of talented people out there in all shapes and forms. What I'm going to do to start with is to just give you a little bit about NOCN, so you know who we are. Hopefully some of you will know us. We're an awarding organisation. We've been around 30 years. We are taking over C-Skills Awards from CITB. We're in the process of doing that. So we're going to be the second largest awarding organisation and apprenticeship assessment organisation in construction in the UK. About 4 years ago, we had a real commitment as an organisation to go into apprenticeships. We carried out one of the 6 Richards Review apprenticeship pilots, and we've been involved since then with the Trailblazers. We're one of the early organisations to be approved as an apprenticeship assessment organisation, and we now are approved for 29 standards. That may not sound many, but the process is pretty bureaucratic, takes about 4 or 5 months, so it's slow, but I'm sure it'll speed up eventually. At the moment, there are 77 organisations approved as apprenticeship assessment organisations. Pearson's is approved for the largest number of standards, 31. We are second. We're approved for 29 standards at the moment and working on another 56 in targeted sectors. We concentrate in certain areas, and there's this other firm you may have heard of. Is it City and Guilds? They're third. Sorry, I had to say that, didn't I? We actually started to operationalise about a year ago. So we started ensuring that we know how to do high quality assessments. We started taking on assessors and training them. We bought an IT system. You've got to have an IT system, haven't you? So we bought an IT system and implemented it and got ourselves really ready to deliver. So we're probably one of the few, I'm maybe only 2 or 3, organisations that actually have contracts to deliver EPA and are actually carrying out EPA assessments. So we're right at the forefront, and that's where our charity wanted to be, because we have a history of being at the forefront, and I'll come back to that in a moment. As I said, we work in certain sectors. Here's a list of them. I mentioned construction. We're the 3rd largest in management and admin. We also do transport. We work for people like the National Air Traffic Controllers. So when you go on holiday, yes, the air traffic controller's probably got one of our qualifications. So quite a diverse range, and also financial services, Barclays Bank, Financial Conduct Authority, and others. So a good range across a wide range of sectors. We are a charity. We've been around 30 years, and I mentioned that we were groundbreaking, and I make no apology for this. We were one of the organisations that really were behind the QCF. I know everybody's dissed it. Actually don't agree with that. I think there's a lot to be said about training people in bite-sized bits. Particularly, my personal experience is I got developed, and most of the people that worked with me got developed by learning in bite-sized bits. So whether we want to call it QCF or anything else, actually learning in a progressive way in the workplace is critical to access and to developing everybody. So we're a charity for 30 years, and we started off with the purpose of helping people that had no qualification whatsoever, couldn't get a job, back in the 80s recessions. That's where NOCN started. I, as an operational manager, bizarrely enough, used the early NOCN passport. Little did I know then that I'd end up being the managing director. And therefore, it was key for us that we actually supported everybody. So fairness, respect, equality, diversity and inclusion has always been at the DNA of NOCN right from the beginning. We've never seen it as an add-on. Yeah? All our procedures, all our processes, our qualifications, everything we've done have that embedded within them. And we joined the National Centre for Diversity programme 5 years ago, and it's been really good for us as an organisation. We became a leader in diversity 3 years ago, and that helped us with the consultancy and support we got from the National Centre. We set up a programme which we call Value in All. You'll see we got some accolades from the Centre, which obviously we're very, very pleased about doing. But we set up a programme which is not only for our staff, but is for training providers and employers that we work with. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to influence people to actually take equality and diversity seriously and embed it in what they do. And we've set that up within the company, and we've put everybody through training. We're working closely with a large number of training providers over this. And interestingly, in the last 6 months, we've put all the staff through unconscious bias training. And I echo some of the statements that we've heard so far this morning about the value of that, if not the shock, yes, for quite a lot of people. So really a really good thing to do. And we've set out a number of principles about the way we work as an organisation and the way we want to work with training providers and employers, about ensuring there's opportunities for all, and that we're investing in our people and we're celebrating that diversity, and that we measure it. So, which is an interesting one. I may be wrong, but I think we might be the only awarding body that actually produces reports on EDI and statistics. I'm the only one I'm aware of. So we've been collecting statistics about 3 or 4 years now. If you're interested, you will find them on our website. But I'm going to pick out 1 or 2 things out of them, which I hope will start some questions later on when we get into it. I won't tell you everything we collect. We collect all sorts of data. But one of the things we do is to track. We think it's important, if we believe in equality for all, that we can track that our qualifications, our examinations, the way we work with you, aren't biased. So we do tracking against a number of the characteristics to see whether learners are actually going through the system and are not biased against. This is an example of the gender tracking. So we see who's registered and we see who's passed the exams and see whether there's something strange within that actually might cause us to go, there's something wrong with this assessment, there's something wrong with this qualification, it's blocking people, yes, or it's very difficult. We have had one area which came out of this work was a massive drop-off in Asian women undertaking ESOL Skills for Life examinations and not completing. So registering, not completing, and not taking the full course. So this sort of tracking is really quite useful for us, and I believe others. We track against target sectors as well. This again is gender, but we do ethnicity and disability and others. So I've just picked out a few examples. And what we're seeing we've got about 4 years worth of data now, is real sector bias, yes, still there. So construction is mainly women, health and social, no it's not. It is in Thailand where I worked. More women work on a construction site in Thailand than men. That's very interesting difference. But you'll see health and social care, a lot of women. Construction, security, a lot of men. Still there, that bias, but we can see that from our data. We can also see ethnicity and the spread, and we see barriers here. Ethnicity in particular, and disability, where learners don't want to say things. They don't want to say what is their ethnic background or what is their disability. That's a challenge, I think, for all of us. I'll flick through that one. That's a ability one. Employment. This is probably no use nationally, but very useful for us. We, as an organisation, started off to help people that were unemployed. Yes. And therefore, how many people coming through our qualifications that are unemployed is important to us. Yes, it's important to our charitable objectives, so we track that. And obviously, we get a very large percentage of our learners who are unemployed. And so we as a charity know that we're actually starting to achieve some of our objectives. I've got an over picture here, which shows where we are. So we're looking on an annual basis, how do we compare to the national averages? We find that in general, low in terms of women coming through our qualifications. And when I talk about these statistics are qualifications, yes? They include some SACE framework qualifications as part of apprenticeships. We will be doing the same for EPA. Yes, so there'll be a different set of stats. At the moment, there's only 100 or so people on program, maybe 4,000 in total. So it's small, but we will track apprenticeships in the same way. That's our plan. So this is the qualifications, but I think that they still give us some messages. So we can see that we don't get so many women. We particularly do get a large number from the ethnic community, BAMI community. We get a high level of students and a high level of unemployed. One interesting in us is the low level of part-time workers. And that brings me, I think, to really some of the points I want to draw out of that. Fiona's coming on, I think, after coffee. We've now got 4 years worth of data, and I've just shown you some snapshots and some ideas. And the Learning and Work Institute and NOCN are going to start to look through that data and see if we can pull out some policy points and some guidance and advice that will help us address the equality issue, both within qualifications and hopefully, as we go forward, apprenticeships. I think that we'll hope to publish that later this year or early next. And there are some things that are starting to be important and coming out of that. I think one is the recognition of the economic imperative. We can't close off. I was head of employment skills for London Olympic Construction. We needed thousands of workers. So sitting with contractors who weren't necessarily that interested in EDI and persuading them that actually we need to open the doors to anybody and everybody and train them and get them into work was quite a challenge. But there is an economic imperative for this country to actually make sure that everybody that is here can partake in the benefits of our society and enjoy those benefits of our society. We cannot, as an organizer, as a country, afford having large numbers of people that haven't got the skills and haven't got the opportunity. So I think there's an economic imperative. We're still a challenge of gender stereotyping, despite 30-odd years of trying to tackle that. And I think there's also a big agenda. We've had Matthew Taylor's report on the gig economy in the last few days, but the statistics show to us that part-time workers, generally women, are disadvantaged in our current system. And I think that is clearly going to roll through to apprenticeships as well, under current policy and currently procedure. There is a real bias in government funding, and there's a real bias in the way that policy is being implemented against part-time people. And I think that needs to be addressed. One of the other things we need to address is access to apprenticeships and the willingness to go to apprenticeships. There are young people now that are white, black, pink, green, whatever, that don't have a culture necessarily of apprenticeships. Everybody's been brought up to think of going to university and getting a degree. My generation, hardly anybody went to university. About 2%, something like that, virtually nothing. Most of us went and did an apprenticeship. So for many older white people, we will go, yeah, apprenticeships is a good thing, let's bring them back, great idea. And there's a lot of support. However, that's not true across the board. I've worked in Asia. Our company works in Asia. We work in India. There's large parts of our society and our community where the idea of an apprenticeship is not particularly well known. In India, where we work, there is no real such thing as an apprenticeship in our terms. This is very much a European, a British and European idea, in the way that we currently talk about them. It's not even in America. So there's a real challenge, I think, in getting people to see the benefit of an apprenticeship and getting them to see that that's an option that they'll take. And I think that is a particular challenge for the Asian community, where everybody sees a degree as the right thing to do. When working in India, it's degree, masters, degree, masters. Nobody thinks of a degree apprenticeship, let's say, as an example, or an apprenticeship at all in any way. And we've got large part of our country that doesn't see the importance of it. I hope that will change, and I think a challenge for all of us in this room going forward is to bang this drum about equality and diversity, and to bang the benefit of apprenticeships, and making sure everybody gets the benefit of those. Thank you very much.
Think apprenticeship. Think pathway.